Okay, you heard that, right? Hello, my friends. Cheeks here, and I have Bill here from LegalShield down in the USA. And welcome, Bill. I'm excited for you to be on because it's crazy what's going on these days in surrounding us. And legally, you have something that you can talk about to spread the information because people are getting misinformation. So welcome, Bill. And tell me a little bit about yourself, Bill.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Cheeks. And I am in the U.S. I'm down in North Carolina, and I have been with this company, LegalShield, for almost 21 years. Next month, November, I'll be 21 years with the company.
21 years.
21 years. Yeah.
Wow.
I always kid folks and say the only other thing I've ever done for 21 years or more is my wife. I mean, and I don't mean that bad, but the reality is we've been together about 26 years. So the only thing I've stuck with that long is my wife, but it's just something that I saw, years and years and years ago. I knew that, we were in a position where our rights are vulnerable, and there's an old saying that if you don't know what your rights are, you just simply don't have any. And there's more truth to that than you can ever imagine. So I decided, you know what, I want to be a champion for people's rights. I want to be able to let people know what their rights are and have access to them and be able to protect them. And I knew that as our time went on, every year there's more laws on the books and less understanding. And now we have specialized attorneys that specialize in different areas of law, just like doctors specialize in different areas of medicine. And so I knew it was going to become more cumbersome and stuff like that, more expensive over the years. And I was right. And sometimes I don't like being right, but I was right. And today, we're living in a time right now where I have never seen the need for people to be able to know and have access and have protection for their rights every day.
Yeah, I heard about LegalShield for a few years now because I have friends who use your product here in Canada. I'm here in Canada. And I hear that LegalShield is a big following in the USA and you have representation for Canada.
Absolutely. Matter of fact, LegalShield now is available in all of the 50 United States and all Canadian provinces and territories. So we're an international company. We currently protect about 1.8 million families across the US and Canada, or about 4.4 million people. Which is, a growth spurt that I've seen happen firsthand. I mean, when I came on board with LegalShield in the year 2000, at that point, the company was about 28 years in business and they had about 600,000 families subscribing. So 28 years to get 600,000 families subscribed. Fast forward just 20 years, we're now at 1.8 million families subscribing. So it's tripled over the last 20 years. So we are really on the verge and on the cusp of an absolute explosion. And I'm telling you, with everything going on in the world today, I believe that that's going to happen a lot sooner than later.
So with LegalShield, how does this all work, like LegalShield?
Well, what LegalShield has done is they've developed a way to take that traditional cost of attorneys that's typically $200 to $400 an hour and reduce it down to a small monthly fee. We're talking about $29.95 a month for your entire immediate family. So it's not just you, but everybody in your entire immediate family has access to the services for that amount of money. And now you have access to good quality legal counsel whenever you want it, not just when you need it. And that's a big difference. I mean, right now, sometimes I meet people that say, well, I've never really needed an attorney before. And while that may be true, it's usually more accurate to say, I just never used one. Because if you're anything like me, at $200 to $400 an hour, you're like avoiding using an attorney as much as you possibly can. You'd only call them if you absolutely positively had to, and there was no other options for you. But I want people to just imagine what life would be like if anytime something came up in your life, if you literally could just grab your smartphone and tap an app and be able to talk to an attorney as much as you needed to, and you would never get a bill for that, because that's exactly what LegalShield does.
That's crazy. It's too good to be true.
We used to say that is, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is, right? We've heard that our whole life. but we've now started telling people if it sounds too good to be true, it must be LegalShield, because that's the way it works. And what I found of 21 years of doing this is what you just said, Steve, is exactly what people are thinking, even if they don't say it. When I go through what the LegalShield plan does and offers, and I tell them that, for your whole family for $29.95 a month, 95% of the people are thinking that sounds too good to be true. And a lot of people would not buy it because it sounded too good to be true. And we've been taught our whole life, if it does sound too good to be true, it probably is. So what I little 60-second explanation that the way LegalShield is set up is they've gone out now and put what we call a provider law firm. It's a full service law firm on retainer in each state or province that we do business in. As I told you, it's all 50 states and all Canadian provinces and territories today. That provider law firm gets paid 1/3 of every membership dollar we collect in their state or province. Now, I don't know the numbers where you are, but here in North Carolina, where I'm at, we have about 50,000 members of the service. If everybody's just paying $20 a month, just so I can do the math quick, that means we're bringing in about $1 million a month just from the state of North Carolina. The law firm here gets 1/3 of that every month. So we're paying them about $333,000 a month to provide services to our members. So I always like to ask people, if you had $300,000 a month to go put a law firm on retainer for your family, how good of a law firm would it be?
Oh, okay. So now that's the perspective. So you're saying, like, I'm in here in Ontario. Is there like more than one firm or just one firm helping us?
Well, that you have your provider firm that you make all your initial contact to, but then your provider firm has a network of what we call referral attorneys across every other county in your province. So if you needed something that was specific to a particular county, you would call your provider firm, let's say a speeding ticket, for example, and you got it, somewhere else. You would call your provider firm. They would refer you to one of the referral attorneys in that particular county who would go to court for you. And that's all a part of the system.
Okay. So, so there's, you pay your monthly rate and you wait till you actually need it one day, because you never know when you're going to need it. Now, let's say I got into a fender bender, let's say an accident, and I needed a lawyer. So do they help me through the whole process, or is there something else I would have to kick in?
No, they would, with a fender bender like that. I mean, here's the beautiful thing. One of the things that our LegalShield plan offers is 24-hour a day, 7-day a week emergency access. So a fender bender is actually one of the things that we consider an emergency. So say you had an accident, it was after hours, it was 10 o'clock at night, or it was 2 in the morning, or Sunday, or maybe it was even Christmas or a holiday. It doesn't matter. A button on your app that you can touch, and within you'll have an attorney on the phone to help you in a situation like that. Because so many times we unwillingly or unknowingly say things to incriminate ourselves, right? The police officer shows up, he goes, "Oh, what happened?" And you say, "Well, I was pulling out and I just didn't see the guy." Well, what you just did was say, "Hey, it was my fault," right? You didn't mean to say that, but now whenever something like that happens, you can tap the app and get an attorney on the phone, and they'll advise you right on the spot. And then if you get the ticket, the moving traffic violation ticket, then they'll go to court and represent you in court.
Okay. So another example. I'm going to hit you with examples because I'm a visual person. So I need to see the whole situation because it's the easy way to absorb it. And to explain it to most people, right? That's how we learn. So let's say if I'm traveling and I get into something where I need some help, what do I do if I say I'm in another country other than Canada? Do I get any help?
Well, in the U.S., we're only in the U.S. and Canada. So if you were in the U.S., yeah, you could still have access to your services here. If you're already in the U.S. and you're in a different state than your home state, you're covered in all the United States. And then if you're Canadian, you're covered in all of Canada and all the United States. So, It really doesn't matter. And that's the beautiful thing about LegalShield is it doesn't matter what your issue is or where it is, we got you covered.
So that sounds refreshing, that you don't have to worry about saying, okay, it's only this amount of money, so it can't give you everything they're talking about. Well, it can. You will have protection legally, and nowadays everything's so crazy out there, it's good to have it.
No, absolutely. And one of the things that I saw, when I became a member 21, 22 years ago of the service, and it still stands true today, is our LegalShield membership has no contract to it, as far as a time contract. It's completely month to month. It can be canceled anytime for any reason with no penalties. So we have 1.8 million families subscribing to it right now, and they could all cancel it tomorrow. So if it wasn't working, we would not have that kind of a customer base.
Well, I'm going to give you another example, Bill, because I think this pertains to our current environment with what's going on, with the recent pandemic here. And I have a question for you. So if you can answer it, I know you can because you're full of energy on this. I have a friend and he says, see if you can find out this for me. And I said, okay. So he works for a company, but anyways, here in Ontario, they're saying if you don't get your JB, you're going to be unemployed and possibly not even get employment insurance. And he's got to make a decision. He's the only one working and he doesn't know what to do. And so that's here in Canada, and it's happening. People are in fear. And do they know what their rights are? Can they do this to you? So that's an example happening right now to a friend of mine.
And it's not just happening to your friend. I mean, it's happening to hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of people. I talk to people every day that are facing that. Now, I do want to say this. I am not an attorney, but I would like to just give everybody a little piece of personal advice. If you are in a situation like that, make sure that you make them fire you. You do not quit your job. You stay there until they tell you to leave, okay? Because if you quit, then you've basically given up, everything. Now, to answer your question on can they do that? Is that legal? Blah, blah, blah. What we're finding out is these are very uncharted waters that we're in today. There are no precedents that have already been set to look back on and say, okay, they can do this, they can't do this. So attorneys even today don't really have the answers to everything because there's no precedent to look back on. Now, we're starting to get some precedents. There's a judge in Texas that just said that I think it was United Airlines could not mandate the vaccine to their employees. So there are starting to be some precedents. I personally think that there's going to be lots of lawsuits, maybe even some class actions that end up, coming from this. And I think if enough people lost their job because of this, they're eventually going to collaborate together and find some attorney somewhere that's going to say, no, it is your body, it is your choice, you can't do this. And there's going to be some lawsuits and stuff happening there. So I don't want to pretend like, LegalShield or any attorney really has all the answers. But what I am telling my customers is don't ask very open-ended questions when you call your law firm about things. Make sure you're asking very specific to you type questions. Like, for example, you wouldn't want to call in and say, my company says I have to get the JB. It's a mandate or I'm not going to have a job. Can they do that? Well, we may not really know the answer to that. Okay. What you would really want to be asking is my company is telling me that if I don't get the JB, then I'm not going to have a job. Okay. If I refuse to get it, and if they do end up terminating me, at that point, what recourse might I have? Right? What could I do after the fact? If I did decide to get the JB and something happened to me, are they liable? Do I have any recourse because they mandated that to me and now I'm sick, right? So don't ask such open-ended questions, ask more specific type questions.
I think that's what's happening now. We're living in a world of fear, in uncharted waters. We're listening to the media. We're following all these news briefings and whatever. And at the end of the day, maybe we're not just digging deep enough to find out what really is legal. and you're getting feared into doing things that are not legal. So you got to stand up for your rights. You know, people have worked hard and fought for your rights, and they had them there, and all of a sudden they want to relax them for what? For something that maybe not be correct. Like, you don't just give up things like this. And so do your homework, do your research, and get your news and facts from reliable sources. And then, you know, reaching out to Bill's team at LegalShield, and then ask them, what do I need to do here? And then make the decision. No one's saying you have to do it right now. We do have a deadline. And you know what? Even in Canada, these deadlines are starting to get relaxed as we go. So don't rush into anything.
No, you're absolutely right. And you know, I said it earlier in our conversation that if you don't know what your rights are, you really just don't have any. And I'll give you this is a personal example of something that I used LegalShield for this year, and it has to do with current events. My father in January of this year, he got sick, and we didn't know it at the time, but it turns out it was COVID. And so I ended up taking him to the emergency room at the hospital, parked right in front of the emergency room doors, and put him in a wheelchair and rolled him into registration. While he was getting registered, I ran out and parked the car. Well, I came back in and my father was gone. And I said, hey, where's my dad at? And they said, well, we already took him back. And I said, great. Would you please take me to him? And they said, no, you can't be with him. And I said, well, what do you mean I can't be with him? And they said, well, he hasn't been tested for COVID and you haven't been tested for COVID and you can't go back there with him. And I said, I'm his healthcare power of attorney. He's currently incoherent, so he's not going to remember or know anything the doctors or nurses say. I need to be with him. Would you please take me back? And they told me no. And I said, you know what? That is an unacceptable answer to me. And this is the difference in having LegalShield and not, because 22 years ago, before I was a LegalShield member, in that situation, I probably would have lost my religion on that person up in the middle of the hospital. Right. But I didn't do that, right? I said, that's an unacceptable answer. I stepped right outside the emergency room doors. I tapped the app. I called my law firm, told them what was going on. The attorney told me, well, Mr. Guyther, that must be a hospital policy because it is not a law in the state of North Carolina. She said, so here's what I recommend that you do. And she told me exactly what to do, who to call, what to say. And I took her advice. I called the executive offices of the hospital, patient relations, talked to one of the executives, told them what was going on. They sent somebody down right away. The lady pulled me over in a corner and went on to try and explain to me why I could not go back with my father. And I stopped her and I said, listen, I understand that that is your policy, but my attorney has told me to ask you for an exception to your policy. And the lady said, well, hang on one second. Let me see what I can do. And she took off for about 5 minutes. She came back and she said, Mr. Guyther, we've done some checking and it turns out we have a little bit of wiggle room in our policy. So I'm going to take you on back to be with your father right now. Now, while I was happy that that was my end result and my outcome, as I was walking through the waiting room, going to be back with my father, there was dozens and dozens and dozens of people sitting in that waiting room. I'm sure many of them sitting there because they were told they could not go back and be with their loved ones. Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know what your rights are, you simply don't have any.
Yeah, there's all kinds of like people in the news here, people fighting for your rights and showing examples where they entered places that they were not permitted, and they showed you there was the exceptions and how to do it. And people just need to know the methods to exercise their rights. And just like you just pointed out, they are there. You're just not hearing them, you're not seeing them, and you maybe not believe it. But this is why everyone does their research and you will get there.
Right. And that's the beautiful thing on LegalShield is, you know, I understand it. Listen, I get it. A lot of people don't have time because they're working a job or two, or both mother and father are both working. And so you don't have time to sit down and spend hours upon hours digging through information on the internet and watching videos and reading what the CDC says and reading what the World Health Organization says and reading what VAERS says. And I mean, it's a very time consuming process. I am very fortunate that I have a lot more time than most. And I do take a lot of that time to do that kind of stuff, but most people don't have that time. They work, then they're taking care of their families, and then, maybe they're cooking dinner or whatever. And the beautiful thing about LegalShield is if it gets to a point where it's just something you need to know, it's a tap and app away to get the right information.
And a lot of people are intimidated, right? They're not used to being tough in front of peers and professionals who they feel that they maybe not have these rights, and they don't know how to talk. They feel scared. Well, if you don't feel it, that you have the will to do something, then reach out to someone who will help you and provide you this. That's what you're paying for, a service to help you. If you don't know, that's why you ask for legal help, and that's a great way to get help, because you've been through this before. LegalShield's been helping thousands of people. Exactly what's happening right now, it's happened to everybody. I just give you an example. We had a friend of ours who was in a hospital, and she couldn't go see her husband, and it was so sad. And she wanted to see him. They just said she couldn't, and it's like, that's not acceptable. This is my family. This is my husband or whoever it is. I'm getting in there, and I'm going to be with them with a helping hand, because they're in distress, and you're not their family, and you have no right to keep me from them. And so you got to learn this, because if something happens to them, how are you going to feel? How would you like to be in the hospital left alone? It's already crazy now. This is not somewhere where we want to be. We have to get out there and, dig for your right, because this is not acceptable. We're living in a fear world.
No, I agree. And, fear is the great controller. We as children listen to our parents and try not to do wrong because we're in fear of getting spanked or punished or grounded in school, and we're in fear of, getting suspended or putting in school suspension. As adults, we toe the line because we're in fear of going to jail. And, fear is just the great controller. And the fear that a lot of us feel today is what's keeping us, quote unquote, in line, because this is what we're being told. And a lot of people, I don't think, understand that, we're all the product of what we've been told, what we've heard, what we've seen, what we've read. That's what makes us who we are today. And if all the information we're taking in is what our TV told us or what our neighbor told us, then that's limiting to, what we are and what we believe.
Yeah, there's also the other end too. I'm just thinking about here, you need to have a Vax Pass here to go into and sit in a restaurant or go to a stadium and watch a national hockey game or something. And I'm like, okay, so let's just take it back. If you are a store owner, has an outlet, and you think that you may get a letter or something if you're not going with what they're telling you of a direction or a law. Not even a law, I mean a mandate or a recommendation or whatever, and it's not even legal in most cases. LegalShield could help you too, right?
No, absolutely. I mean, here's the short rundown of what LegalShield provides for your family. Unlimited consultations for anything personal going on in your life. So if you ever have a question about anything, you just call and find out. You're never going to get a bill for that. They will write letters and make phone calls on your behalf to help you get issues resolved, right? So when somebody is not hearing you, they get a letter or a phone call from your attorney or from your law firm. I can tell you from personal experience, it tends to get a different result. They will review contracts and documents for you at no additional charge. They will provide your will, living will, healthcare power of attorney, and financial power of attorney to you and all covered family members at no charge.
So I can get a will written.
Yes.
Now, included. Okay.
No additional charge for.
I remember getting a will from our family lawyer, and that was probably, I don't know, a while ago, let's say. And I thought, we're good to go. We got our bases covered. We got a will. We got a power of attorney. We're good. Forget about it. I can get an updated one.
Well, you can get it done with us at no charge, and then we'll do annual reviews and updates at no additional charge.
That's amazing, because just that alone can add up to hundreds of dollars just to get a will.
I don't know what it is in Canada, but here in the States, if you call an attorney and say, I want my will done with a living will, a healthcare power of attorney, and a financial power of attorney, you're going to spend upwards of $1,000 per person for that.
There you go. Bill's just explaining, prices for legal help can be astronomical. So you can get stuff that you already need, and you have peace of mind that you're protected in this crazy world because you don't know what's going to happen to you. You might even get a bill or something in the mail that you forgot to pay something, which is total nonsense. But just imagine going in and trying to represent yourself for, say, $100 charge, and then it starts putting what is it, sent to collections or something. That can be expensive.
Absolutely. Let me share another little personal story with you. I don't know if you've ever tried to argue with the power company or not.
Oh yeah.
It's usually not
the phone company bill. Right. People's cell phone bills.
Same thing. Yeah, it's not usually a winning battle when you have those situations. But our power company here, we had a big oak tree, huge, probably 60, 70 foot tall oak tree in front of my house. And I don't live in a big house, 1,200 square foot, one level house. And the power company would come out about every 3 or 4 years, and they would trim back one side of that tree to keep the branches off the power lines. Well, the side of the tree that they trimmed off was the opposite side of my house. So now all the weight on this tree was hanging over my house. And over the years, the trunk of the tree started to lean like this over my house. And you could see it. I mean, it was physically, you could see it was leaning over my house. So I called the power company and I said, look, you guys are trimming this off. The weight of the tree is over my house. I'm very concerned about it. Can you guys just cut it down? Well, they agreed to do that, but then they didn't do it. So I finally called LegalShield and I said, look, here's the deal. Told them everything I just told you. And I looked into it myself to have the tree cut down because I was that concerned about it. And it was going to cost me like $5,000 to have that tree cut down. So I called LegalShield, told them, they asked me to send over some pictures. So I took some pictures. Sure enough, they wrote a letter to the power company. About 3 weeks later, a guy from a local tree cutting company pulls up in my front yard and says he's there because the power company sent him out to look at this tree. So he looks at the tree, takes some pictures, sends them over to the people at the power company, calls them up, gets them on the phone. I'm standing there talking to him while he's got the power company on the phone. The guy at the power company says, that tree looks perfectly healthy to me, and we're not going to cut it down. And I said, again, this is how cool I am now that I'm a LegalShield member. I said, look, that's no problem. You do what you got to do, and I'm going to do what I have to do. This tree concerns me. I don't think there's anywhere in my house that we're safe if that tree were to fall on my house. So you're here today and you have this guy here today because you heard from my attorney. And if you're not going to cut the tree down, I'm just going to call my attorney back and we'll just move this to the next step and we'll see you in court. And he said, oh, well, I don't want to go that far. And I said, well, again, I'm just trying to protect my family. I know you're just doing your job, but that's the way this is going to go. And he said, okay, fine. And that was the end of the conversation. The guy left. I came in the house. I told my wife, I said, well, they're not going to cut the tree down. And she was shocked, but she said, okay. Sure enough, 5 minutes later, knock on the door. I went and answered it, and it was the guy from the tree company again. And the guy from the tree company says, hey, can you come back out here and talk to the guy at the power company again? So I go back out there now, and he goes, listen, here's what I'm willing to do. I will cut the tree down. We will take down all the brush. He said, we're not going to take up the stump, but we'll cut up all the other pieces into, firewood size pieces. If we did all that for you, would that make you happy? And can we call this a day? And I said, yeah, that'd be great. And long story short, a week later, they came and took the tree down.
Yeah, awesome. I love your stories.
Who beats the power company? I mean, how do you fight the power company?
You need professional help because we can't navigate. We don't know what to say, right? We know what we could say, but it'll get us in trouble sometimes and make it worse. But sometimes you need professional, like somebody to talk who knows what to say.
Well, and look, I've explained it kind of like a tennis match, a back and forth, where if a company says to you, hey, you need to do this or else we're going to sue you, that puts the ball in your court. right? Now you have to make a decision on whether or not you're going to do that, right? You're going to comply to what they say, or you're going to pay for your defense to, defend you if they sue you. But as a LegalShield member, another thing that we provide is trial defense services. So if you get sued civilly, that defense is already paid for. So now if somebody threatens to sue me, I can call LegalShield. LegalShield's going to call that person or that company back and say, hey, Mr. Guyther has already prepaid us for his trial defense. We're ready to go to court. What just happened is that ball that they put in my court, I just hit it back and put it in their court. Now they have to make a decision. Do I really want to sue this person and spend the money it's going to cost to sue them in hopes of winning? Or do we just find an amicable way to end this whole thing and make it go away?
Yeah, that's like some strong negotiations, Bill.
Exactly.
You got the power of thousands of attorneys at your disposal.
Right. Without LegalShield, you're on the tennis court and your opponent's got a racket and you're playing with your hand.
Cool.
You get LegalShield, you got a racket now too.
Awesome. And so I'll put the link for your LegalShields for everybody who's interested to learn more how they can get connected with LegalShield. And I hear it's like an easy process. You just go click the link, you go to a site, fill out some basic information, in about 24 hours, you're set up.
No, literally it takes 5 minutes to do the application online, and everything that we offer is available for you to use immediately, with one exception. We have a family domestic part of our membership that has a 90-day waiting period. But after 90 days, if somebody's going through an uncontested separation, divorce, adoption, or a name change, then we will cover that 100%. But everything else, when somebody enrolls, is effective immediately, and they can use it right away if they choose to. Wow.
So there you have it. Bill's explained everything about how LegalShield can help you. I'm truly amazed at it, because you do research and you find out what's available in this world that can help you. And right now, that is a bonus for help, peace of mind, protection to get you through the craziness now. And the good thing too is everything changes. So why not call a company that's already on top of what's actually recent news and what recently is applied? Because things are changing all the time, right, Bill?
Every day. I mean, every day there's a new law. Every day there's a new mandate. Every day there's a new something. And, what we've experienced over the last 18 months or so, is on top of all the regular stuff that we've dealt with in our life, right? It's not like it replaced anything. We still are dealing with all the things that life has to deal with. And now we have all this other stuff, with the virus and the JB and all the mask mandates and all this other, that's just all on top of what we already have to deal with. And I'm going to just tell you, I could not imagine not having LegalShield. And I do want to say one other thing here, Cheeks, that I want to put out there, that because some people are like, well, I don't know if I could budget another $30 a month right now. And I get that, especially if you're not working or your hours are cut back or something. But about 5 years ago, we added a thing called the LegalShield member perks. And we added it for that very reason, because we didn't want anybody to not protect their rights because it was a financial decision. Mm-hmm. So what the member perks is, it's literally 400 to 500 local and national retailers that we now get significant discounts at, simply because we're LegalShield members. And I can tell you from personal experience here in the States that I save more money every year on things I buy through the member perks, things that I was going to buy anyway, but I saved money on because I went through the member perks. I save more money every year in the member perks than it costs me to be a LegalShield member. So there's really no reason for people not to have it today.
Everyone loves some perks. Hey, did you get a deal on your power company?
Right? Maybe I should have.
Yeah, that's awesome. But we could talk all day with you because you're amazing and I love it. And this is wide open of things we can talk about. But people have a attention span sometimes of watching videos, because there's so many videos. We'll have to cut this down to a normal time. So I look forward to talking to you again, Bill. And I think more people want to talk about interesting things that maybe you have, and I love your stories.
Thank you very much. And just so you know, and I'll give you both the links so you can post it when you post the video, but there is a different link for Canadian than there is for the US. It's just the .ca versus .com, but I'll give that to you. But just so everybody knows, go to the one accordingly.
Okay, so just stay with me, Bill. I'll just say goodbye, everybody, and thank you, Bill, and thank you, LegalShield, for providing, I guess, awesome peace of mind for everybody at an affordable price. And check out some of the other videos on the channel. Been doing a lot of new interviews lately, and check out my other channel on Product Patrol. I'll put all the links for you, where we have lots of fun there as well. And live life now, cheers, and cheeks out. Okay, Bill, be well.